My guest this evening is an accomplished musician, actor, and creative artist. She was a part of the original cast of Soul Doctor on Broadway. She released her album Ophidian a few years back, and she has numerous TV and film credentials. Currently, she is creeping out audiences in the number one movie for the past 5 weeks, The Wretched. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Miss Zarah Mahler. Zarah.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for taking the time to come on. I'm really excited to get to know you better and have all the guests and not the guests, all the people out there, all the viewers out there, get to know you better as well. So, first things kind of first, with every guest I've had on this tour, it's show number 15 tonight. Is how are you doing? How are you coping during this really difficult time?
Um, it is difficult. It's a difficult time for everybody. And I'm glad you asked, because I feel as an artist and just as a human being that it's really important to talk about everything that's going on politically and worldwide. And 2020 has, I mean, the saying "when it rains, it pours," it barely encompasses what we've seen in the last 6, 7 months. And the short answer is I'm doing well. I'm okay. Um, it's, I think, impossible not to feel the collective overwhelm that the world is feeling, but I also think there's a lot coming to the surface that needs to come to the surface right now in terms of, um, you know, it started with some awareness around global warming and kind of taking a step back and reprioritizing and in terms of COVID and taking care of each other there. And now with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything we're seeing there, I mean, we're so past due in terms of seeing this movement take on the legs and the life and the wings that it is. And I couldn't be more supportive and just glad that it's happening. And uh, yeah, one day at a time. And I'm trying in terms of how I'm doing personally, I'm just trying to do a lot of listening and quiet and really thinking. Um, this whole year, that's sort of where I've been, and I'm learning a lot. And I am looking forward to being able to take what I've taken from all of these experiences and put them into art and, have a voice there going forward.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. Every time especially in the last week in particular, I've started off my shows talking about what's going on out there and how it's been affecting me personally. And it would be really callous of me not to acknowledge what's going on and just start off, hey, we're going to be doing all these things with this guest and all that. It just doesn't feel right until at least
Yeah.
you say something and then you can kind of move forward.
Yeah,
Um,
it's an odd time. It feels almost wrong to do self-promotion of any type, which of course isn't why I showed up to participate in this interview. I'm passionate about the things that we're going to be talking about, but you're absolutely right to make sure that we talk about these issues, and I'm glad to hear that.
yeah, no, I used to work in South Seattle, which is
Mm.
considered a pretty tough area of our state, and so the civil rights issues, gender issues, race issues, religion issues, all of those things I've personally been working on for most of my professional career outside of doing this kind of thing. So as things have really escalated around here, I can't help but go back to those days and think about uh, having really tough discussions with students of different colors and different backgrounds about things, and then really trying to find a way to stop talking and actually, like you just said, listen to what they're
Yeah.
saying and then process that and reflect on it and really trying to see, man, they just kind of opened my eyes to something that may be a behavior that I've had for years and I didn't really realize it, thinking, oh, I'm doing pretty good as a person of color or whatever you want to call it. And then when someone, say an African American student, talks to me about their struggle, I'm like, man, I've got a lot of work to do, really. And this movement's been great about that kind of thing, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think, while we're on the subject, there's a lot of defensiveness that's coming up, specifically from white people right now. And as much as that's kind of a normal human reaction, um, I mean, all reactions are normal and abnormal as humans, but oh, did I just disconnect? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, great. um, I was gesticulating with my hands and I pulled the cord out. Anyway, speaking of having a voice, but I was just going to say that I've noticed a lot of defensiveness, and there's so much pain, and being defensive can be a reaction to overwhelm and chaos and pain. But I've spent a lot of time in the last week listening to the voices of the Black community, and really what is being asked of us. I revert back to the 3 A's, I like to call them, which is um, acknowledgement, just acknowledging that we do have a systemic issue, racial issue in this country. It's always been there, it's still there. So acknowledgement, acceptance, doing whatever it is you have to do to accept that fact. And I always encourage people to just kind of lay down their defenses and just sit with that. And then action. And those three things are really not uh, unreasonable demands from one human to another human being. So I think the answer right now is just yes, and we support each other and love each other and do better.
Yeah, again, well said. I couldn't
Thank
agree
you.
more. It's and it's going to be something that it can't be something that's the focus now. It has to be something that you're continually aware of
Yeah.
for months, if not years down the road, to have
Yeah.
actual change. And we could talk about this probably for the next couple hours, but
Yeah, true.
but we're definitely in agreement here. So let's kind of go back a little bit
Okay.
for folks that maybe haven't seen the film The Wretched,
Sure.
aren't familiar with your career, but I want to make sure that I want to make sure I have the right balance of time. So let's kind of actually, this is, so for people out there watching this right now, they know typically I go right through my topic list, but this time I'm not going to do that because
Okay.
I want to make sure that I can always kind of come back to things. So I reviewed The Wretched. I want to say it was maybe April when IFC gave me the screener to review it. And then I put my review online. If I remember, I think you commented on the review. Um,
Oh,
your role really and your character really stood out to me when I watched it. And I'm not blowing smoke or anything. That was true. And that's why I reached out to you about doing an interview of some sort. And then this opportunity came to me. So I'm like, hey, you want to actually talk, virtually to lots of people around the world. And so, how did you get involved with the movie? What was that process like, and just your experience making it?
the to there's kind of a funny story. I guess it's funny to me. But initially it was just my manager sent me the script. It was at the time the working title was Hag, Hag. It wasn't called The Wretched at that time, and I read the script, and the final product after editing, the movie that you see, that everyone will see, things are a little out of order, and these scenes are actually cut. Um, they did, but the original screenplay, I sat down and read it, and the very first scene was this mother driving with her kid, and she hits a deer and tries to kind of shield the child from getting out of the car because she doesn't want Abby, the character I play in The
Mhm.
Wretched, and then goes out and has this conflicted moment watching this animal die, and then ends up bringing it home. And then things happen as they do in the film. And it was such an intriguing, well written start to a horror film. It wasn't just like a cliche or tired
Mhm.
story, and it grabbed me. And I'm not easily grabbed by material, and so I said yes. I went in. This rarely happens to me, but after the audition, I was so excited to go in and play this role. Really intrigued by the fact that I kind of got to play two roles. Um, Abby prior to the invasion of her body and possession, whatever you want to call that. But then to be able to play something else under the skin of that same person, it was just such an intriguing, as an actor, that's such a treat to be able to play something living in something else. But I went in for that audition, I'll make this quick, and walked out and called my partner and said, "I blew it. I honestly, like, I don't wanna do this anymore. I don't wanna be an actor. I don't know what my problem is. I was tired. I was weird. It didn't wasn't good." And then they called me back, and I went in and thought I had an even worse callback, and, was so upset about it, and then they once I met the brothers, once they offered it to me, they said, "Oh, we knew we were gonna cast you the whole time," and I was just like, "We don't know. We have no idea what we're doing." So, that was my introduction
Wow, and
to the project.
that's one of those things, and I think somebody else, another guest, was talking about a situation that was kind of similar to that, where they thought they completely blew the audition. There's just no
Yeah.
way they're going to call me, and then turns out, no, what there was something that the casting people saw in them. So, no, you're the person that we wanted, and we just wanted to make sure that you were, able to do some of these other things. And but in terms of that guest, they are just completely beating themselves up about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reminder as an artist not to judge your work, just to, like, be truthful and honest and live it because I s I'm not the only person who's had this experience. I swear when I go in and I think I've nailed it, I hear nothing, and then when it's the ones where I flub the line or I do something sort of, uh, I don't know, it's the ones that I think are complete train wrecks that seem to be, uh, come to me, so
Well, and even for, I think, the average person out there like myself, I can think of job interviews I've had in the past where it's like, oh man, I walked out of there and I feel like, man, I'm just beating myself up. I screwed that up, and I'd have a good answer for that one question. And
yeah,
then 2 days later, they gave me a call and said, we'd like to have you come on board. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, really?
it's always like
Okay.
that.
I guess I need to do the opposite, kind of like what George Costanza did in that old Seinfeld episode.
I
Everything's
love
right.
Seinfeld. I'll take a Seinfeld reference anytime.
Awesome. I'm a huge fan of that as
Yeah.
well.
My father was an actor, and he was on, Seinfeld. He had a recurring role.
Oh,
Uh, he played, the rabbi that gossips about Elaine,
oh, yeah,
Rabbi
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Glick
yeah,
or
and
something.
it
Yeah,
yeah, he was offering her,
yeah.
like, this the Snackwell cookies,
That's
and
exactly right. That's what he was
oh,
doing.
oh
That's
my
my
gosh, that's
father.
awesome. I had no idea. Small world.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Seinfeld. I used to record all those episodes on VHS tape when they were
Mhm.
actually aired on Thursdays.
It's a great show.
Yeah, so now that the film came out, and it's become like the little movie that could. That's how they're
Mhm,
describing in terms of the
mhm,
success of The Wretched. And for people out there that haven't seen it, for me personally, I've been a horror fan for a long time, and I've seen I don't know how many different horror films. A lot of the more modern ones to me are a little bit more pretentious, and I don't
mm,
really care for them. And
mhm.
this one kind of pulled from different areas. Like you said, it's got a really interesting take on the genre. It has a little bit of a throwback feel to it at times in terms of just the
Yeah,
setting. And like you just mentioned, when your character, I'm trying not to have spoilers, but when your
yeah,
character makes that change and that shift, it reminded me a little bit of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
yeah,
because it just creeped me out. you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So obviously, kudos to you. So, in your opinion, what
Thank
do
you.
you think? Why do you think the movie is connecting with audiences so well right now?
I mean, well, first of all, I think all of us we're all really kind of close. We stay connected. The cast and crew, creatives, producers, all of us have a group thread that's just everything wretched. Like we've it was a very blood, sweat, and tears film. It's low budget horror film. Um, and so for personally, I feel really humbled, really thrilled and excited about the success, but humbled by it. And the thing is, obviously, we wouldn't be in this position if things were different with the state of COVID, and the state of the world right now, and the entertainment business and theaters being black and all of that, dark. Um, but this film always had something special. From the moment I read it, the moment I got to set, started working on it, um, those brothers, Brett and Drew Pierce, who directed it, are the most humble, sweet, wonderful, talented humans. And they have such a specific and clear vision. And that becomes really apparent when you work with them. And so and they're the callback to sort of an early Spielberg feel we hear, and there's a little touch of like Hitchcock. There's a really special just like texture and energy about this film. And I think that what happened was because we opened in the middle of all this craziness, it was kind of like, when there's a bunch of movies out, they all have lights shining on them and it can be really oversaturated. And it was just like a bunch of lights went off, but the light on us, we kept it on. And so people were able to see it. And I don't think that we're having this success because of COVID, or because there's less competition and like large blockbuster film. But I think that people have been able to see it for what it is because the light is still shining on it. And it's such a wonderful thing for independent film because independent film is so close to my heart. It's got to be one of my favorite art forms. So this is just, it's been wonderful.
Yeah, no, I think you're right that you had such a quality film, and there's this kind of unique opportunity that there was attention drawn to it, and it
Yeah.
wasn't just because there wasn't competition, but because no, the movie's good,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
word of mouth spread too really quick about
Yeah.
that film. So, um, all right, it's about 5:18 now, so I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, and let's talk
Sure.
about your music background and
Sure.
the clip that we're going to be showing in a couple minutes. I believe I understood that you're a self-taught pianist, that you started pretty
Hmm.
early,
Hmm.
and so in terms of your music career, and it sounded like something that you're really like it's something you hold. I mean, you hold everything near and dear. I'm sure, but it was something really extra special about being a musician and putting, especially the album out into the world. So,
Yeah.
can you talk about just your thought process about being a musician and writing songs and that type of thing?
Yeah. I was I want to call myself like a closeted musician for the better part of my life. Um my parents tried to get me to take piano lessons when I was like young, 5 or 6 or something, and I think I took 2 lessons and I was just like this isn't for me. So I don't know any music theory. Or the bare minimum. I can't sight read music. I don't know what chords I'm playing when I'm writing them. I play by ear. But I started writing uh dabbling when I was younger, but really started writing using the piano, which is my instrument, and songwriting as an outlet for what was happening inside me. When I was around 15, that's when I started. And I continued writing music until maybe I was in my late 20s, or mid late 20s. So I wrote for about 10 years before I ever played a song for anyone. I didn't share
Hmm.
my music, it was for me. It was processing, it was like a journal or some place to put what was going on. And I didn't ever have any, uh, I don't know, I didn't ever do it for validation, and it felt very uncomfortable actually when I first started playing for other people, but there was when I was touring with Wicked, nationally, I started playing songs at benefits where we were raising money for different causes, and the response based on the response to my original work at those benefits, I finally decided to do an album, and I took forever and worked with a wonderful producer named Leo Z. And we're working again now on a second album. And I'm one of those people where it's like it takes me a long time to write a song. Um, so I put that album out in 2015 or 2016, and I spent way too long making it, but I'm proud of it and I love it, even with its flaws, and I might be one of those people who takes a decade every time before I release something new, because I care about what I'm saying and it's incredibly personal. But I'm glad that I've embraced it and started to share it because there is something to uh there's something unfinished as a musician about, and I didn't know this until I started sharing it with other people, but there is something that feels unfinished about not sharing with others. And to share with others and give them maybe the voice or give them anything that they they didn't have beforehand, or to help them move through something traumatic. Like there's something really wonderful about being able to connect with people in that way and help them and communicate. And so uh yeah, it's I can't help but write. I have to write music, and I love it.
Okay. Well, hey, let's go to the Alice headquarters, folks, because we have a live clip of you performing a Leonard Cohen cover song. So if we could go to that clip now, please, that would be terrific.
The dead. Everybody with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor, the rich get rich. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. Everybody knows the boat is leaking. Everybody knows the captain lied. Everybody's got this broken feeling, like their father or their dog just died. Everybody's talking to their pockets. Everybody wants a box of chocolates and a long-stemmed rose. Everybody knows. Everybody knows you love me, baby. Everybody knows that you really do. Everybody knows that you've been faithful. Give a night or two. Everybody knows that you've been discreet, but there were so many people you just had to meet without your clothes. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. Everybody knows it's now or never. Everybody knows that it's me or you. Everybody knows that you live forever when you've done a line or two. Everybody knows the deal is rotten. Old Black Joe's still picking cotton for your ribbons and your bows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows the plague is coming. Everybody knows it's moving fast. Everybody knows that a naked man and a woman are just a shining artifact of the past. Everybody knows the scene is dead, but there's gonna be a meter on your bed that will disclose what everybody knows. Everybody knows that you're in trouble. Everybody knows what you've been through. From the bloody cross on top of Calvary to the beach of Malibu. Everybody knows it's coming apart. Take one last look at this bleeding heart before it burns. Everybody knows. guys wanted to know about it.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows them, guys. So you're right. It's like I was answering them. So like, who covered? Who's covering? Who is this? And I was like, everybody knows. All right.
Well, that was beautiful hearing that your rendition of the Leonard Cohen song. And oh my gosh, we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, now that always happens.
Where did the time go? Just to make sure that I have time to not miss anything. What do you have coming up in your all parts of your career?
Well, I mean, the in terms of film and TV, that's kind of been stopped at the moment, so that's all just waking back up. But you know, because that particular area has been dark for a little while, I've just been working on music and happy to do it. You know, that seemed like the proper song. I won't be so presumptuous as to try and translate what Leonard Cohen's lyrics are about, but I mean, there's so much in that song. It's worth revisiting at a time like this, talking about the plague coming, and you know, there's lots of things.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
I was saying this to another guest the other night that I might have to look into like doing a podcast or some kind of extended show on my own once this
Yeah.
tour's end, so I could have people come back, because I would love to. I've got at least another half page of things I wanted to get to, but unfortunately my time is running out, as I can hear
Well,
in my.
I will happily come back wherever, whenever you like, and we can answer the rest of the questions. Be my pleasure.
I sure do appreciate that. Zarah, thank you for taking the time, and I hope that you stay safe where you're at, and maybe we'll connect down the road then.
Yeah, you too, Mark, and same to everybody else. Thank you
All
so
right.
much again for having me.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, you too.